past define us and...
Stop. Would you like to change that?
We choose
Thank you.
to let the past define us.
Thank you.
And we choose to let the future steer and guide us.
Yes.
Can you go into a little more detail on some of the mechanics at work here that have us get stuck in these moments and have us holding on to these beliefs and refusing to let them go?
Yes. We have described this before. We will describe it briefly again. The mechanics literally have to do with beliefs that are in what you might call the wrong place. So, in other words, we've described to you the motivational mechanism. Have you heard us talk about this?
Yes.
Do you not understand it? That's the mechanism that you're asking about. The motivational mechanism. Do you understand it? Do you remember what it is?
Can you please expand on it?
I will take that then as a no.
Sure.
The motivational mechanism for all of you is this. This is a given. You will always, and I mean always, without fail, there are no exceptions, none of you, no exceptions, anywhere, at any time, ever, all of you will always move in the direction, act in the direction of what you believe is to your benefit. You will always move away from what you believe is not to your benefit. Once you understand that mechanism, then the logical questions follow. If I recognize that I am choosing things that I can see are not to my benefit, and I understand how the motivational mechanism works, that would mean, that must mean, I must have a belief attached to that mechanism that makes what I know would be to my benefit appear not to be to my benefit. I must have a belief attached to it that makes what I know is not to my benefit seem more beneficial than the alternative. That's the mechanism. Therefore, when you find out what those beliefs are, you can see that they don't actually make any sense where you have placed them. And once they make no sense, they're gone, and you can then recognize that a different belief, a more positive one theoretically, will take its place in the proper order in the motivational mechanism, and there will be no more impediment. You will break through it. That's how it works. So it's about examining the beliefs you have about the past in relation to you, the beliefs you have about the future in relation to you, and finding out which ones don't work for you and creating ones that do, and then letting go of the ones that don't and implementing the ones that do. The motivational mechanism framework doesn't care what you place on it. It will work the same. It will always amplify what you say is to your benefit, always, even if it's not, because you're the one that's placed it in that position in the mechanism, making it seem more beneficial or less beneficial. You have to get the order in the way that works for you. Yes?
Right.
Is this making sense?
Indeed.
Is this answering your question?
It is, and I'm wondering if there are other, I guess, psychological or energetic components.
Of course there are,
yeah.
But they're still all based on what you believe to be true.
Right, that's
it
the
all
foundation.
comes down to that. Mm-hmm. All of it. So it doesn't matter in what way you might express it psychologically. It doesn't matter in what way you might have been taught. The idea is you're telling yourself a story about yourself that doesn't work for you. Tell yourself a story that does. If along the way, because of the reflective mirror in the kit of excitement that reveals to you beliefs that don't work for you, which is its job, yes?
Yes.
So part of your excitement is to find out what is not your excitement. That's part of your excitement.
Yes.
So you can let it go and add the energy to your excitement. How exciting is that? Very. So when you proceed to the best you can in exploring these things, you will start to construct a different story that makes more sense to you about who you prefer to be in that story. Then you will start living that story, and you will experience a different kind of life. You don't have to make it more complicated than that, unless you believe you must. But if you're experiencing more complication than that, it's only because you've been taught to believe that you should. Remember, there is no such thing as an inherently difficult circumstance. Only your belief allows you to experience it that way. Everything is neutral. Doesn't have built-in meaning. You give it meaning with your definitional belief, and it responds in kind because it doesn't have a choice to do anything else but reflect back what you have put out. That's the law. That's the nature of existence. It's the structure of existence. Physical reality doesn't exist outside you. It exists within you. It's a concept. It's a projection. It's a dream. There's nothing out here. Nothing. There actually is nothing at all. There is no outside, in a sense. It's not when I say there's nothing out here that there is still an out here with nothing in it. There is no out here for anything to be in. There is no out here for nothing to not be in. There is no out there. Out there. So,
From within to without.
it's just a reflection. Again, you know that when you look at your reflection in a mirror, you're not really over there. It's just a reflection. Is this helping?
Very much.
All right. Anything else that you would like some clarification on? Or do you feel that this is actually answering your question sufficiently?
It is. And what you've explained about time travel, shifting between realities
Yes.
is, and especially with regard to the future, that seems easily understandable, especially with a linear perspective.
Yes.
What is, I suppose, or could be chosen to be a more challenging understanding is that of how the past is not set and equally malleable.
Yes, but that's only because that's what you've been taught to think about the past. Doesn't mean that's the way it is. That's just the way you've been taught to look at it.
Right. And one of the most striking examples
Yes.
seems to be that of miracle healing.
Yes.
So someone has an irreversible ailment,
Yes.
and they come to a point where they experience that healing,
Yes.
and suddenly it vanishes, and they
Yes.
stand up out of the wheelchair
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
Because they shifted to a reality where
Yes.
it did not exist.
Exactly, and that means they are not the same person that had it. They've never had it. It goes that far. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's not that they're the same person and they no longer have it. They are a person who never has had it.
Right.
Therefore, it doesn't even show up anywhere in the timeline. Yes? Now, you can create the continuity if you want as an experience. Oh, yes, I used to have it and now I no longer have it. But in a sense, that's just wordplay. Because you actually are a new person who never had it. But you're maintaining a sense of continuity that you're the same person who let it go. That's just the way you need to experience it for yourself so that you can gauge that you have changed, that you have grown, that you have made something else happen. That's your way of knowing you've become a new person. You're just using language that makes it seem as if you're the same person when you're not. That's all.
Okay.
So it's the difference, as we say, between describing an experience and actually describing the mechanism that causes the experience. Big difference. Big difference. That's why many of your definitions are outdated, old-fashioned. You still think that the description, the old-fashioned, outdated description, is actually a description of the mechanism. It's often not at all. It's just a description of how you choose to experience it. But it may have nothing to do with how the mechanism that caused it actually works at all. Do you understand?
Right.
The simple example we often give is the concept you call telepathy, which we term telepathy. Most people on your planet go, oh, well, you can read my mind. No, you can't. What you're doing is creating a vibrational frequency that is so similar to the vibrational frequency of someone else. You're mirroring them so closely, you're having the same thoughts at the same time. The effect, the experience seems to be, you're reading my mind. But the mechanism is no such thing. The mechanism is you're simply on such a similar wavelength that you're having the same thoughts because only those thoughts are germane to that wavelength. Therefore, you're in sync with one another, having the same thoughts simultaneously like two tuning forks vibrating in harmony. But the tuning forks aren't reading each other's minds. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are simply representing the vibration that represents that particular frequency. And that's it. So, description of the mechanism, very different than a description of the experience. Doesn't invalidate either, but it's important to tell the difference. Because when you just go with the idea of the description of the experience, you're reading my mind, it creates all sorts of misunderstandings and assumptions that don't work in your reality. The whole idea sometimes of your scientists attempting to test for psychic abilities like telepathy, they find many times that there's no evidence for it. Why? Because they're attempting to test the experience. It doesn't tell them what the actual mechanism is behind it. Therefore, they're doing the wrong test. And of course, they find no evidence for it because they don't understand what it is. They have proven that the experience is not the mechanism. That's what they've proven by saying there's no evidence for this. That's all they've proven. But they haven't yet realized that the mechanism itself is completely different from the experience that they've just disproven is not the mechanism. Yes? Mm-hmm. Does that help?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
You are kindly welcome.